Hey everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's continue with our VBA SQL Server automation mini-series. And in the previous two videos, first with the help of ChatGPT, I was able to connect Excel to SQL Server using VBA. And then I also changed the code a little bit. So now we are able to store the SQL queries as string and call them from another subroutine. And we can also choose in which worksheet the result of those queries to appear. So in the previous video, we were able to run 3 queries with a single click. And the result of those 3 queries are in 3 separate worksheets. But those were easy, I would say, one-line SQL queries. And in real-world scenarios, SQL queries are normally more complex than that, and they often include joining multiple tables, filtering, sorting, picking specific columns, and so on. And if we don't structure those properly in VBA, then the code quickly becomes messy and hard to maintain. So today I'm going to show you how to build clean multi-line SQL queries in VBA. So first, let's switch back to SQL Server. And once again, I'm going to be using the AdventureWorks database. But this time I'm gonna pick some other table, because in the previous two videos I was using the address table. So now let's check what we have in the product table. So sales lt.product. Click F5 to run it. And we have 295 rows, but as you can see, there are multiple columns now. And let's say that I want to get this data in Excel. However, not all columns, but maybe just 4 or 5 columns. So let's say the first 5 columns here. So I will have to list them here in the query, and I'm gonna get the product ID, comma, the name, and then we have the product number, and also the color, and then finally the standard cost. And I'm gonna change the way this appears in the query. So let's change the header from standard cost simply price. And I would also like to filter the table additionally by the weight column, and let's exclude those rows where the weight is no. So here I write where weight is not null. And if I click run now, we now have 198 rows. And then finally, let's sort the data by price in descending order. So I can write here order by standard cost descending. So if I click run now, the data is sorted, and let's say I want to get this in Excel through VBA. And if I copy this query now and go back to the Visual Basic editor, and let's say I'm gonna start writing a new subroutine, which I will call I will call it build multi-line SQL. And I'm gonna declare a variable SQL, a string. And if I write SQL equals and paste what I have copied, then obviously it's going to break. Simply because in VBA, a string cannot span multiple lines unless we explicitly build it in that way. So instead, we'll have to construct this query using string concatenation. So let's go. And this is not a very easy thing to do, but it's not too difficult. So first, I'm going to write here that SQL equals select. And now I want to continue on the new line, to continue the string on the new line. And to do so, we can either use VBCRLF, which means carriage returns and line feed, or we can use VB new line. So if I write now SQL equals SQL, and I need to continue here with product ID. So here I'm gonna write product ID, and just to show you how it looks, I'm gonna write debug.print SQL. So if I click run, now we see that we have the string select product ID. But I'm gonna stick with using VBCRLF, and I'm gonna add it here because we have a few more lines to write. And I'm gonna copy this now, and then in the next line we need to add the comma first. So I'm gonna write it like that, and I will have to copy this line I will have to copy this line and paste it 3 more times. So this will be product number, and this will be color, and this will be standard cost as price. So this is in single quotes here. And if I check how the SQL string appears, I can run it again. And now it says select product ID, name, product number, color, standard cost as price. Then we can continue by specifying the table. So this will be from sales lt dot product, and again let's concatenate this with CRLF. And then finally we need to include here the where clause, where weight is not null. And now what we're left to do is to add the sorting order by standard cost desk. And I forgot here adding the new line, so and VBCRLF. So now let's see the entire query, and we can even copy it here and run it on a new window to see if it's correct. And it seems that it's correct. And back to the Visual Basic Editor, then I can now call my run SQL query subroutine in order to get this data in Excel. But maybe I'll create a new sheet first, which I will call result. And here I can call run SQL query. This will be result, and this will be SQL. So it's gonna practically get the data from the query, and it's gonna paste it here in this result worksheet. So if I click run, now you can see that we have this 198 rows, the data is sorted, and everything looks good. So normally that's a way to build a multi-line query in VBA. And I just want to show you for demonstration purposes what's going to happen if the query is with wrong SQL syntax. So let's say I'm gonna intentionally remove this single quote. And if I now click run, now we're getting this kind of ugly error, but at least it tells us the syntax is incorrect, and it says that we have unclosed quotation mark. So maybe if I go back to print it in the immediate window, let's comment this for a second. And if I copy paste it now in SSMS, now we immediately can see that the problem is exactly here. And then we can go back to the Visual Basic Editor and fix it and run it once again. So now there shouldn't be any errors. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.